Here's what's coming up on the First Take podcast. Well, the Bills hand the Patriots a loss on Monday Night Football. Plus, is Romo ready to lead the Cowboys to the NFC East title? And should the Broncos keep Peyton on the bench this season? That and so much more coming up. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Appreciate you joining us. Welcome into First Take. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam here with you.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah. There's only one thing left to do, Skip.
This man is playing a little hurt.
Yep.
Got to say that.
Under the weather.
So
my man.
Yes.
But you're still here,
Hello,
like always.
hello.
Always show up. Good to see you.
Molly. How you doing?
I'm good.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Yes.
Tony Romo is back and picked up where he left off, snapping the Cowboys' 7-game losing streak with a 10-point win over the Miami Dolphins. Dallas now just 1 game behind the Eagles and Redskins and 2 behind the Giants. Skip, from what you saw Sunday, what chance do you give the Cowboys to win the division?
Stephen A. Smith, as that game wound down yesterday in Miami, I must admit that I almost went Terrell Owens. I was almost moved to tears. Oh, that's my quarterback.
Oh, my goodness.
That's my quarterback, and he's back. Stephen A. Smith, Tony Romo changes everything. To Molly's question, yes, I think they have a great shot at winning an extremely winnable division. I think 8-8 could win. Heck, I think 7-9 might win this division as I look down the schedules. So I kind of like my Cowboys better than I like the rest of the junk in this division, to tell you the truth. So I'm watching Tony Romo yesterday, and I'm watching the offense and the defense spring back to life just because Tony Romo was back. It was as simple as that, his mere presence. Now, I realize this was just the Dolphins, although they had one at the Eagles. That got a little discounted yesterday. But I'm going to remind you, my Dallas Cowboys had lost 7 straight games. My Cowboys had lost their way, their edge, their confidence in close games, 6 of which had been close, and they'd blown all 6 of them. But what happened when Miami tied it at 14 mid-third quarter? Tony Romo immediately took charge and took this team 80 yards in 8 plays, the last 16 yards to Dez Bryant versus double coverage, just like the great old days. And that's when I sat back and watched everything change before my very eyes. Body language changed. Swagger was back on the defensive side of the ball. Special teams started getting special again. And good things started happening simply because of number 9's presence. Now, he did make a couple of rusty, careless, old Romo kind of throws, 2 interceptions. They were disgusting. They were despicable. They were any word you want to attach to them. But I do believe he will clean those up as he gets back, into the flow. Darren McFadden sprang back to life. I thought he actually did a pretty good, dare I say, DeMarco Murray impression with 29, not 12 carries, 29 carries for 129 yards. And dare I say, Robert Turbin just might be a little godsend for them, a little low-slung muscle between the tackles, high energy. I kind of like the 1-2 punch at running back all of a sudden. So, back to Molly's question, can they win the division? They have the best offensive line in the division. I think they now have the best defense in the division. I've always thought they had the best skill players in total with Romo in the division. So I realize the schedule is flat out brutal. Here comes Cam Newton and 10-0 Carolina on Thanksgiving. Then it's at Washington, where they can be really good at home as they are bad on the road. Then it's at Aaron Rodgers. Pretty tricky. They kind of bounced back to life yesterday. Jets at Buffalo and finish Washington at home. It's brutal. It's rough. But I think my Cowboys are about to get on a roll because I like them to win this division and get to the Super Bowl with Romo and Dez. And now that both are back, here they come.
Well, it's really cute for you to believe that. I totally understand where you're coming from. I was happy for you yesterday. I should have never picked the Miami Dolphins.
Thank you for doing that.
Well,
I appreciate that.
Playing, we were just playing,
So now you're just playing with that?
No.
Okay,
what I mean is
fine.
we were playing a hard game with that particular pick. I didn't feel like picking the Dallas Cowboys. I don't believe in Miami Dolphins. I think you know that. I think that Darren McFadden rushing for 129 yards, 96 in the second half, if I remember correctly, was emblematic of this defense, which has been, porous against the run run for most of the season. Sue's been balling. Yeah. He's been balling, no question about it. But offensively speaking, they've been challenged, to say the least. Defensively, they were inconsistent. And going up against the Dallas Cowboys team with Tony Romo returning, having lost 7 straight, playing with house money, they put the Dallas Cowboys in a good position. Terrence Williams showed up and played. Des Bryant had a touchdown catch. McFadden ran the ball effectively. Tony Romo threw 2 bad interceptions, but that's expected. He's rusty. He hasn't played in so many weeks. He can be forgiven for that. But in terms of being excited about the Cowboys, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not lose it. The reality is very, very simple. In order for the Dallas Cowboys to win this division and make the playoffs, they're going to have to be perfect. They can't really afford to lose any game whatsoever.
Yes, they can.
I'm not sure they can. I don't believe that. I believe that the Giants will find a way to win 4 more games this season. I just believe that. Obviously, I don't think it's highly about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Redskins, which we'll get into. Yep. But I understand your enthusiasm. I get where you're coming from. I can't poo-poo that. And it's clear that the Dallas Cowboys are the best team within the NFC East when Tony Romo is healthy. Because for some reason with the Giants, they can't get their defense together, and they can't get Victor Cruz healthy to save his life. He's going to be out for the season. But I look at the Dallas Cowboys right now, and I say you pretty much have to win every game. I don't think they're winning this Thursday against Carolina. I reserve the right to change my mind before Thanksgiving. But right now,
I reserve the right to make my pick about an hour into the show.
That's
How
right.
about that?
I'd love that.
Maybe, maybe not. I'm just of the mindset that, we'll get into all of that. And then you've got Green Bay. Obviously, they've made amends for their recent struggles. Of course, you've got the Jets and Buffalo on the schedule coming down the pike. So I look at it from the perspective that the Dallas Cowboys, I could easily see them going 5-2, possibly 6-1, but likely 5-2. Either scenario, I just don't believe will be good enough to win the NFC East. If it is, it's pretty pathetic. But I guess things can happen. After all, the Carolina Panthers didn't make the playoffs last year at 7-8-1.
That is true. No team has ever come back from 2-7 to make the playoffs. And my Cowboys have that carrot out in front of them. They have a quarterback last week who you were underestimating how bold he was, saying, "Here we come, it starts now." He did use the Major League clip. He tweeted it out to show that woebegone Cleveland Indians team in last place, Tom Berger making a locker room speech in the clubhouse to say, well, I guess there's just one thing left to do. Go win the whole bleeping thing. Well, that's what he's saying. He's sending that message to his teammates because I believe he believes it. Because I believe that he stood on the sidelines. And by the way, I give him a lot of props for. He went to every game. He stood on the sidelines. He didn't say I got to rehab. Nope. He was there every time, every game, cheering them on, watching them come so close in 6 of the 7 games. So he's saying, hey, this is a really good team. It's just missing a couple of plays from the quarterback. And he gave them a couple of huge plays yesterday, and he knows they'll just flip it around, flip the script on the NFC East. They got the best team, and here they come. Deep hole, but here they come.
Well, listen, all I'm saying to you is this. You say all of that, but you sound like you're speaking about championship as opposed to just playoffs. And I'm saying to you, winning the whole bleeping thing from Tony Romo means absolutely nothing to me, because when healthy in 9 years as a starter, he hasn't won the whole bleeping thing. A matter of fact, he hasn't even won 2 playoff games in a particular playoff series, to a playoff season, rather, to produce it. He has a grand total of 2 playoff victories in his career. So I don't care how demonstrative he is, or how bold he is in his predictions. Tony Romo is in no position to make any kind of predictions whatsoever. Why don't you get to an NFC Championship game? Could you make me a favor? Could you do that? I mean, could you do at least that? Because last time
this year you will.
No, well, maybe you can talk maybe all you want to. I'm going on fact. The fact is he hasn't, and the fact is he's been a starter. How many years in the league now? 9 complete seasons. This is the 10th year. But you can talk ancient history all you want to. I'm just talking about in terms of his guarantees. The guarantees mean absolutely nothing, because he's in no position to give any guarantees, because he hasn't been that thorough in that regard. Can't even get to an NFC Championship game, let alone to a Super Bowl. When that happens, come talk to me. Up until that time, he's just another Cowboy looking for headlines.
Okay, right here, right now, who's the best team in the NFC East?
Cowboys.
Thank you. Next
the way they
question, Molly.
look. No, it's not the next question. No, not so fast. Not so fast. They're 3-7. They just lost 7 straight before winning one game, and they have to depend on others. Even if the Dallas Cowboys win every single game with Tony Romo, they still have to depend on the help of others before they are to get to where you project. So that's not end of this discussion. It's not end of question.
Go look at the Giants' schedule and tell me it isn't end of story.
Well, it's not end of story yet. The games still have to be played. The Dallas Cowboys, Tony Romo could get hurt again.
He could.
There you go. Des could go down.
Hey.
You know
Wait. Eli could go down.
Well,
you threw it at me. Eli could go down.
But we're talking about
Odell
probability.
Beckham could go down.
Wait a minute.
All right, let's all be positive.
Wait a minute.
If you're going to throw it at me.
Eli Manning hasn't missed a start since when? Since when? When has Eli Manning been unavailable?
He had an ankle.
When has Eli Manning been unavailable? When?
Oh, I don't remember.
When?
I'd
It
have
has
to
not
look it up.
happened. So my point, don't bother. The answer would be never. He's always available. 16 starts every single season for the last decade. So there's your answer.
Wait, help me out on this.
Sure.
Eli last made the playoffs 4 years ago? Is that right?
That's
4
true.
years ago?
That's true.
Every 4 years.
Wow.
Pretty lucky.
How many rings? Say it. Say it with me. How many rings? Two.
Oh, just because you're in the commercial. Skip, I will give you this, though. Your Cowboys, the only bright spot in the division yesterday. The Eagles and Redskins both allowing 5 TDs, those defenses. Let's talk about one of those games now. Jameis Winston and the Bucs just embarrassed Philly. Winston connected with 5 different receivers, tying an NFL record for passing TDs in a single game by a rookie. Doug Martin ran all over the Eagles for 235, the most rush yards in a game by any player since Martin himself rushed for 251. That was in 2012. The Eagles lost 45-17, Stephen A. Should Chip Kelly survive this season?
Well, first of all, he will be coaching for the rest of the season because I don't think that he's going to quit. But let's be very, very clear. It would not surprise me at all. As a matter of fact, I fully anticipate that this will be Chip Kelly's last season in Philadelphia. I think that he has a bevy of options. And to be quite honest with you, I think he's at a point right now where the only people in Philadelphia who want him is Jeffrey Lurie. And I'm not sure how owner Jeffrey Lurie is feeling about him these days. It's not just that they lost. It's that on too many occasions this season, they've been stinking up the joint. And when you look at the fact that they've been stinking up the joint, combined with the reasons why that is, which is a lack of talent at a multitude of positions, that's really when it hits home for you. We all know that Nick Foles is nothing to brag about. But when Nick Foles is getting paid less than $1 million, and Sam Bradford, or Skip would say Sam Bradford is getting paid, Bradford is getting paid $13 million, and that's a swap that you make, that's bad enough. When Deshaun Jackson just catches a ball for a touchdown against the Redskins yesterday, you sort of fantasize about that deep threat that could have been in Philadelphia still to this very day. When you're looking at the year that Jeremy Maclin is having in Kansas City for Andy Reid, you know what he could have done in Philadelphia. When you're looking at Shady McCoy and his elusivity, his evasive skills, and then you see a guy like DeMarco Murray, who I like, who you like, we both recognize would have been better for the Cowboys. But this dude has a 185-pound cornerback coming at him in last week's game against Miami. And instead of going for the first down, he literally slides so he doesn't get hit. And you've got guys in your locker room questioning whether or not he's giving it his all. It speaks to a bevy of problems that are going on inside the locker room of the Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday, Doug Martin, I'm going to repeat this, Doug Martin, who can play, who is no scrub. 235 yards rushing on 27 carries, averaging 8.7 yards a carry, really including an 85-yard touchdown run. 84 yards. I'm just looking at this. That wasn't a touchdown run, by the way, but it's 84 yards. I'm just looking at him, and I'm saying, you've got to be kidding me. Jameis Winston, 19 for 29, 246 yards, 5 touchdowns, not a single interception, a 131 quarterback rating. You just look at these guys out here. And what you're looking at when you see the Eagles, Skip, on several positions, there was talent that was there. You didn't lose it due to injury. You didn't lose it because you know what they said, we're going to leave and go get money elsewhere. You tried to keep them. No, it was Chip Kelly saying, I ain't worried about them. I got my own peeps. We'll do what we do the way I want it. He literally pushed those people out the door because his system, his philosophy and belief system usurps all talent. And just like he did it in college, he's going to do it in the NFL. Well, here's the news flash. I don't recall one single national championship taking place at Oregon in the Chip Kelly era.
Yep.
And I don't see a Super Bowl title in the near future. And I think that Philadelphia has caught on to it. And I think that this city, looking at the talent that they once had and how they were pushed out the door by Chip Kelly, the patience has worn thin. Obviously, he can resurrect. They'll change their mind at the drop of a hat. If suddenly he turns around and wins his final 5 games, I don't see that happening. I think that the Eagles will lose at least 1 or 2 more games. I think that they will struggle. The best they could hope for is an 8-8 season. They will not make the playoffs, and the star on Chip Kelly, that halo hovering over him will be omitted. It will be removed. Chip Kelly's days, to me, are probably numbered, but more so because he has the choice and will choose to leave rather than put up with the vitriol coming his way. It's not like Jeffrey Lurie would just fire him and push him out the door, even though I'm not ruling that out, but I consider that highly unlikely. I think this is the end of Chip Kelly, but I think it's because he's going to pursue other opportunities because Philadelphia is going to make sure he's not a very happy man.
Yep, I hear you. Before I respond to everything you just said, much of which I loved, allow me to give some credit to Tampa because, listen, Jameis Winston is getting a hold of how to play star quarterback in the National Football League. Over the last 6 games, he's just had 2 interceptions, both coming last week against Dallas, a game they won. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at his QBR over the last 6 games in which he's cleaned up that. It's a 74. Remember that scale, 0 to 100. That's 9 touchdowns to only 2 picks in the last 6 games by Jameis Winston.
And 5 games, no turnovers.
5 no turnovers and 5 touchdown passes, all in the red zone. And you say, well, they're short touchdown passes. They're hard touchdown passes for a rookie. I got to tell you, the defense is pushed together. It's just you don't have much room to operate. And for you to go 5 with no interceptions at Philly, it's impressive. And I remind you, Philly scored first in this game. Sanchez hit Josh Huff, 39 yards for a touchdown? It's 7-0 Eagles. Who could have known at that moment it was going to end up 45-17? Are you kidding me?
Because before Sanchez became the accident waiting to happen.
The ultimate accident waiting to happen. Sanchez has 3 interceptions, 1 pick 6.
That's right.
They lose another fumble. DeMarco lost a fumble. By the way, DeMarco got to go solo yesterday at running back, and he had 13 carries for 64 yards. I know they fell behind, so it took him somewhat out of the game. But he's not a difference maker in this offense for this team. We're far enough into the season to conclude that they paid him to get him out of Dallas as opposed to what he could do for Philadelphia. It was more the money was to get him away, and he just doesn't fit. I don't like him in their offense. I think he's lost a lot of heart in their offense. Okay, so now back to the question about Chip Kelly. To me, this was from the start Chip Kelly's team. Am I right? He was the de facto GM, as you say. So he picked the players. He ran off anyone who dared to question him. A lot of them stars with star capability. And now it's his mess. To me, he wanted to be the star of the show, so now he has to take all the responsibility, if not most of it, for 4 and 6. And I'm looking down the schedule. I got to tell you, they have to go to Detroit, and all of a sudden Detroit's starting to play like the team that barely lost the playoff game in Dallas last year. Am I right about that? Resurgent. They've won a couple games, 3 out of 5, but they're starting to look like
a respectable football.
Like a respectable. So on Thanksgiving, when they can be pretty tough at home. You sure the Eagles going to win that one? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm really not sure. Then the Eagles have to go to the Patriots. I'm really not sure about that. Then they get the Bills at home. I'm not sure about that. Arizona at home. I'm really not sure about that. They get Washington. Maybe they can win that one at home, and then they finish at your Giants.
Tough schedule.
Okay, that's tough. I could see, especially if they lose all faith in the head coach, if they effectively just lose heart for the rest of the year, I could see 5 out of 6 losses. I could see 5 and 11. Woo. That would be the end of Chip Kelly.
Let me tell you what I think. You didn't miss it. You alluded to it, but you didn't go in. Skip, a legitimate argument could be made that this team has given up on him. When you see their effort, now, to their credit, they're categorically denying it. When you read the Philly newspapers, like that, they're saying, no, it's not true, it's not true. But you got guys like Josh Huff saying, I can only speak for myself. You got DeMarco Murray, he can't be found in a post-game for an interview, after they lose in the fashion that they lose in. Usually when that happens, you got to remember, DeMarco Murray averaged nearly 5 yards a carry. Now, obviously, you look at it, there's nothing spectacular about that performance.
The one run was 16 yards.
One was 16 yards. Right. Well, the reason I bring that up is because you can usually, when you know it's not you, you usually could stand there and answer questions.
That's probably true.
When you don't stand there and answer questions and you know that it's not you, it's usually because you want to avoid saying something that's going to get you in trouble. And that's what I think is going on with a lot of players on this team right now. We saw Sanchez arguing with Darren Sproles after a play that ended in an interception. You're Mark Sanchez, and you got the audacity to mitigate a goal to sit there and think you can argue with Darren Sproles. Who the hell do you think you are? I mean, Mark Sanchez is an unproductive, butt-fumbling self. I mean, please, be quiet. I mean, just zip it. Oh, stop. But what I'm saying is this. In the end, what it comes down to is we have to look at the Philadelphia Eagles, Skip, and just acknowledge that there are players looking like they gave up. Now, if they fight and they end up going 9-7 or 8-8, who knows? But right now, it looks like there are guys who either aren't good enough or guys surrounding those guys who aren't good enough that are demoralized, not only because of the lack of talent that they have, but also because they know they know whose fault it is. It's a guy in Chip Kelly.
That's right.
That came to them and said, bump your talent. Don't mean anything to me. What matters to me is my system, my philosophy, and you either buy all in or you're going to be out of here. And for those that sit up there and will say, Skip Bayless, Stephen A, you're trying to stir the cup, start trouble. Keep this in mind. There are 32 jobs in the NFL. Guys they got to play somewhere. Of course, you'll get guys to go and play for you because they got to take the best opportunities available to them because there's only 32 teams in the NFL. But talk to any of these guys covering the league. They will tell you that this kind of stuff going on in Philadelphia, they haven't seen this. I mean, these players, I'm telling you, me working in Philly for 17 years, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of dudes in that locker room who do not like Chip Kelly. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. And you know how Eagles fans are. The sky is going to fall on this team this week, right?
That's right.
45-17. And when I thought Chip Kelly had gone out of his way to shore up the defense, it looked much better than it did last year going into this year. Early this year, I saw flashes. And yesterday, you let a rookie quarterback in your house convert 9 of his first 12 third downs. 9 out of 12 was Jameis on his first 12 third downs. That's just embarrassing, man. He ran you off your home turf. You don't think, they're going to be screaming.
You got to remember, your secondary's getting shredded, and you got Baron Maxwell you gave $40 million to. You got the quarterback spot. You paid an extra $12 million. You got to remember, you paid an extra $12 million to have Sam Bradford instead of Nick Foles. You paid an extra $12 million to do that. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and then you see the way Deshaun Jackson, Shady McCoy, you need him to be elusive. You need somebody that can juke you like that. Shady McCoy was an asset. He is not going, and this is what Philadelphia is a great, phenomenal sports town. They know their football. Here's their problem. They know that LaShawn McCoy is gone for something other than football. They know it. And they're like, why is he gone? That's the problem here.
The Broncos win in Chicago minus Peyton Manning and a more under-center offense. Quite a 25th birthday present for Brock Osweiler, who made his first NFL start and got the victory. He had 2 TDs, no interceptions, a 2-point road victory. No Peyton, no problem, it appears. Skip, how will this quarterback situation play out?
You know what, Molly, Stephen A? This is starting to smell to me like the end of Peyton in Indy. The sad, sorry end of Peyton in Indy when he was eased, if not shoved, out the back door because Andrew Luck was there as both the present and the future. And again, it's starting to feel like this franchise is caught up in making Brock Osweiler not only its future, but its present now. And if that's true, if I'm reading this correctly, they are making a dangerous mistake. They are dangerously overreacting, because I think they're reading way too much in. If they are, they're reading way too much into what Brock Osweiler did in Chicago yesterday. I admire the kid for making no turnovers, no interceptions, no fumbles. He did throw 2 touchdown passes, though one of them to Demaryius, the first one 48 yards.
He made that.
I don't even know what happened. It's like Chicago just forgot to cover. Wait, Demaryius, wait, that's the guy you probably should cover? If of all their receivers, I would cover that guy first with 2 people. And he runs a crossing route, and he's like, oh, well, I guess if nobody's going to cover me or tackle me, I guess maybe I should just keep going. And he did 48 yards for a touchdown. So I'm looking at Brock Osweiler after the game, and he acted like he had just won a playoff game. And I know he's excited. And again, it's hard. I didn't hear the whole interview. I just heard snippets, so maybe I'm being unfair to young Brock. But even though he said, I'm paraphrasing his quote, every minute behind Peyton, I was preparing for my chance. It didn't come across that he was paying that much respect to the great, all-time great Peyton Manning. It felt like he was pretty caught up in, I just won my first game, and I'm going to be the quarterback of the Broncos now. Bring on Tom Brady in Denver. You know what? I did pick Jay Cutler in this game. I did not know he was going to be without Alshon Jeffrey. I knew he was going to be without Matt Forte. I was not sure about Eddie Royal. None of those 3 played for Jay Cutler. And you realize, Brock Osweiler, John Elway, this came down to Jay Cutler driving his team down for a touchdown, putting them in position to go for 2 to tie the game at 17 near the end of the game. And for reasons I don't know, they took the game out of Jay Cutler's hands, which I would not have done at that point, and they ran basically the same play that they had just scored on, if we could see that. And it got stuffed at the line of scrimmage, so that's how close the Denver Broncos with Brock Osweiler came to at least going to overtime in Chicago. So let's not get too carried away about beating the Bears without Alshon, Forte, and Eddie Royal, 3 of the best weapons that Jay Cutler has, obviously. So in the end, I admire what the kid did. We know their defense is a stud defense, one of the top 3 in the league, and it came to play yesterday and did a pretty good job on my guy Jay Cutler. I don't think he ever got rattled. He threw for 265 yards, which is pretty decent against that defense. But in the end, this team is going nowhere this year, without Peyton Manning. And I'm going to say what I said last week. This is just my view from a distance. If, in fact, they have shelved Peyton Manning for the rest of this year, whether for performance or for injuries, and he seems to have 3 of them he's battling right now, if he doesn't get to finish this year, I believe he will play another year, and I believe, if necessary, that year will be someplace besides Denver, because that's the way Peyton is built. And it might be at this point starting to be out of spite as much as out of desire, because that's what happened with Indy.
You know, it's interesting that you use that analogy when you talked about them trying to ease Peyton Manning out the door, because I really didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. This smells a lot like him going out of Indy. He was injured, had the surgeries. They knew they had the #1 overall pick, and they wanted to move him out the door.
And remember, their doctors indicated to Jim Irsay that he wasn't going to be able to play at all anymore. So that was how they viewed it.
Right, but I think that's where I was going, because I think the difference that we have to highlight is that they were pushing him out the door not only because they weren't sure as to whether or not he was going to be able to play, but also because they had the #1 overall pick, and they knew it was going to be Andrew Luck, and that's why they were willing to make that move. In this particular instance, you got a guy in Brock Osweiler, and you're like, he's no Andrew Luck. In terms of projection or anything like that.
I don't know. Maybe they think he is.
Maybe they think he is.
6 feet, 8 inches tall.
That would be news to us, because that's not the impression that we've gotten. He's been on the bench. He's been waiting his turn. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we see that it worked for Aaron Rodgers. But in the end, what it comes down to is that when I look at his performance, 20 of 27, 250 yards, no interceptions whatsoever, 2 TDs, a 127 quarterback rating, I'll give him props where it's due. My belief, however, is this. This team was built to try and win the Super Bowl now. And there's no way in hell you can convince me that it's going to happen. Like, for example, and I was thinking about this, and I was just looking it up, Skip, When I think about things like this, a scenario similar to Peyton Manning, I think about Dan Marino.
Yep.
What I think about Dan Marino is this: Dan Marino comes into the league. It's 1983.
Yep.
He's a first rounder. What happened? Skip Bayless. You know, they're going in there. They're 5-2, but they still hand the reins to Dan Marino. He goes 7-2 in the last 9 games as a starter. He's the heir apparent. He's the new dude on the block because he throws 20 touchdowns with just 6 interceptions his first year. The second year, they go 14-2 and go to the Super Bowl. They just ran into the 15-1 San Francisco 49ers led by Joe Montana. Enough said. I'm pointing all of that out to say this. When I look at Brock Osweiler, I could see this guy making some noise. I could see him potentially doing some things. But what does it matter if Tom Brady's standing in his way? You have got to give yourself the best chance to pull that off. And I don't care how good Brock Osweiler looks. You can't have Peyton Manning overcoming his plantar fascia, all right, being ready to come back out on that field with the experienced personnel you have in place to try and go for a Super Bowl championship and then come playoff time. Well, Peyton, you can stay on the side because we going to roll with Brock Osweiler. That's nonsense to me. That's not even something that should be contemplated. Brock Osweiler should be in there for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. Number one, because you're in the future, and let's get you as many reps as we possibly can prior to that. But number 2 is let's get you these reps while resting Peyton Manning. So when Peyton Manning is rested, we can now hand him the ball and say, deliver us the goods.
Okay.
There's nobody in Denver that's going to have, if Peyton Manning is healthy enough, if his arm is rested, his plantar fascia has been healed, he can go out there and play. There is nobody with sense that's going to have a problem with John Elway or Gary Kubiak and say, you know what? We got a problem with you bringing Peyton Manning back into the lineup. That's just asinine. So I say rest him as much as you possibly can get away with resting him, to get him as ready as he possibly can be for the playoffs. In the meantime, Brock Osweiler is getting his reps. Now sit your behind down and watch the artist himself go to work for one last time. 18 years of greatness doesn't get to be omitted because of plantar fascia, particularly if it's healed.
Okay, I hear you. I'm somewhat influenced by the Mike Sando story on ESPN.com that we talked about last week, in which he quoted several personnel directors around the league as saying their view is that Denver is waiting for its opportunity to insert Osweiler for good.
I agree with that.
Okay, and they got their opportunity thanks to a torn plantar fascia.
But what I'm asking is this, Skip. If Peyton Manning, let's just say, because we're not privy to that, it's you and I talking.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning goes to the Broncos. This is it for me. You know? Then, to me, that article by Mike Sando, as legit as it is, that theory and all of that stuff goes out the window because it's clearly Brock Osweiler. It's all yours after this season. So now what it comes down to is, knowing this is the end, do you disrespect a healthy Peyton Manning by saying, we're going to roll with Brock Osweiler? I don't think you do that.
Okay.
It's Peyton Manning. And we all know, listen, and by the way, prior to the injury, okay, yes, he had thrown like 11 interceptions and just 7 touchdown passes, but he was completing over 62% of his passes. All right, he was averaging over 250 yards passing per game. So when you look at it from that perspective, it wasn't like he was wetting the bed and stinking up the joint. He just wasn't Peyton Manning. He had 2 300-plus yard games, okay? I think it was against Detroit and Kansas City, if I remember correctly. That's about it. All I'm saying is he's Peyton Manning. And if Brock Osweiler looks like Dan Marino, that's why I brought Dan Marino up at the beginning, you got me. If he looked like that, because when Dan Marino came in, I mean, you know that better than me. When this dude came onto the scene, we were like, whoa, this brother's on another level. I mean, who is this? This guy is.
I mean, we knew who he was at Pitt.
But I knew
there were other off-field issues that dropped him in the draft.
But listen. That's when you talk about the struggle with the New York Jets. When you pick Ken O'Brien ahead of Dan Marino, that's what ruins your damn franchise. Okay, but I'm just saying. I'm talking about a second-year dude that I saw falling back against the Pittsburgh Steelers and throw a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown to Mark Super-Duper. You understand? I mean, this is kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Doubt.
If we saw something like that from Brock Osweiler, that's fine.
Okay,
this 20 for 27 is relatively pedestrian.
Right, so here's the final analysis. So coming up next Sunday at Denver, Brock Osweiler, you said Tom Brady's standing in the way. Well, he's going to be standing right in his way next Sunday. But if ever you could beat Tom Brady, to me, we'll talk about this game in a little while on the show. Tonight, Buffalo is going to be a battle for them.
Yep.
Buffalo will take its pound of flesh physically from the Patriots, who then after Monday Night Football, short week of prep, are going to have to travel to Denver. When could they be more vulnerable? This is a game you picked when you thought it was going to be Peyton Manning. You picked Denver to stop the win streak, right? So,
right. But when I'm looking at you like
what I'm saying is, if Brock Osweiler's ever going to make a big splash, a real splash, he should be able to make it here.
To that point, Brady 2-5 at Mile High. He struggled there.
That's fine. But here's my question to you, Skip, based off of what you just said.
Yeah.
Are you saying that there should be a reason to contemplate, like if Osweiler shows up in New England and plays well, that you would rethink Denver's position on Peyton Manning?
No, I'm just trying to put into perspective what a great opportunity the kid is going to have. If ever you, right?
Yeah,
you couldn't have a better opportunity against Tom Brady than at a place that's been a little bit of a house of horrors for him.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
We've been taken on the chin, rightfully so, the last 3 weeks. I had a couple real poor performances. This is an important week for us. We really stuck together. We had some good conversations about what it's going to take to get this W and be standing here and have this feeling right now, which is a great feeling, to be back in first and kind of control our own fate from here.
Green Bay had a major division win at the Vikings, 30-13. Teddy Bridgewater was under immense pressure all day, and the Packers bottled up Adrian Peterson. James Jones and Eddie Lacy reemerged as threats. Stephen A., are Aaron Rodgers in the pack back?
Well, I wouldn't say they're back. They were a bit sloppy. There was some communication, some miscommunications, watching them on the field. Plus, they've got some injuries. Obviously, they lost an offensive lineman yesterday, at least for a little while. I still saw James Jones drop a pass. I still saw Randall Cobb drop a couple of passes, even though James Jones had a big day. What was it, 109 yards on 6 receptions, including a 37 yards catch, had a touchdown as well. I was very pleased in terms of them stepping up. I thought their defense was sensational yesterday, limiting Adrian Peterson to 45 yards, neutralizing Teddy Bridgewater, sacking him about 5 or 6 times. I was happy on that level. If that defense can play like that, and they can get their running game going, which they did because Eddie Lacy returned, had 100 yards rushing, averaged about 4.5 yards a carry. That's the ingredient to Green Bay's success. When you don't have a running game and you have the miscommunication because the absence of Jordy Nelson elevates Randall Cobb, obviously, and forces James Jones and Devontae Adams to step into the mix and really be on a cohesive level with Aaron Rodgers. If you don't have your running game, that's more difficult to do. But then when people are moving the ball all over the field and elevating the level of urgency and elevating the level of importance as it pertains to making sure you avoid making mistakes, those are the kind of things that get Green Bay in trouble. Green Bay won this game yesterday. As much as a bad man as Aaron Rodgers was, as much as I love that 27-yard touchdown pass to Jones on the sideline. I mean, right in the corner, near the corner of the end zone. That was a spectacular throw on a scramble by Aaron Rodgers. As much as I love that bad man that he is, they won this game because they ran the football effectively, and they won this football game because their defense showed up and played lights out, and Minnesota didn't appear to be ready. They're a good team. We know we're both very, very fond of Zimmer. But in the end, Adrian Peterson was neutralized. Teddy Bridgewater is still in his second year. He ain't on that level yet. He's not a game changer for you. And Green Bay's defense just played at a very, very elite level. That was more of a reason why they won the game instead of Aaron Rodgers himself. I would say to you, I wouldn't say they're back, but I would say to you that they're obviously atop the NFC North. They're still a team to be reckoned with because if their defense could play like that against anybody, Green Bay could make some noise.
By the way, on Teddy Bridgewater, I like him. I've just never loved him. And I don't know if he'll ever be that dude, that guy who can win that game in that division. There's
for
just
me.
something I just don't love about him. And again, under North Turner, North's worked minor miracles with him. He's getting the most he can get out of Teddy. And again, you're right. Second year, it's probably unfair to make this,
right.
Even put him in the same sentence with Aaron Rodgers.
Got it.
But to me, I'm with you. In the end, I sat back from that game and I said, one team knows how to win these big division games because it's been doing it for a long time. This other team at home was not ready to win a big division game against that team at that moment in this season.
Got it.
And once you take Adrian Peterson, your one big superstar player who's been playing at a superstar level, as high a level as you've ever played at before, all of a sudden the game falls back into Teddy Bridgewater's hands. Green Bay's going to win that game. Now, it took 5 field goals of 42 yards or longer, the last one 52, to completely ice it. That's pretty good kicking, so I got to give that up to Green Bay. But in the end, Aaron Rodgers finally, for the first time in 3 weeks, started getting outside the pocket. So as much as I love Mike Zimmer as a defensive mastermind, I'll go that far, you just can't let Aaron out. If you let him out, he operates much better on the run than he does standing, trying to read, trying to find. And he admitted at Carolina, I flinched, I got scared, and we're seeing him flinch more in the pocket. You just have to build walls outside the pocket. Just don't let him out. The throw you talked about to James Jones, what was happening on that throw? Scrambling. All of his big throws yesterday. Another one up the sideline to James Jones. He's scrambling on the fly and does this little side flip.
But see, this is where your slickness comes in. Because you see, we're talking to somebody, this kid Bayless has been covering the NFL for over 40 years. You know this game. And so I know when you're lying on purpose just to try to, I'm going to explain how. Here's the deal.
I didn't catch this.
Here's the deal. I'm going to catch him. I'm going to catch him. No, I'm going to catch him right now. Right. Skip knows this. You can't disrespect this man by talking about he's flinching too much in the pocket. Skip, you're a quarterback. If guys are not open, that's your problem. That's your problem. When I see Aaron Rodgers flinching, I see a guy hesitant to throw the football because his guys aren't gaining separation. And I've seen him where all you need is a foot, and this dude will fling it up in there. He's Aaron Rodgers. So if he's sitting up there and he's hesitant, it's because you're showing the lack of a propensity to get open. And we're talking about James Jones with Randall Cobb with Devontae Adams. Yeah, James Jones had a good game yesterday. Randall Cobb, what did he have? 2 receptions for 24 yards. There is Randall Cobb. Okay, so I'm just saying.
By the way, you missed the key stat there.
What did I miss?
Aaron Rodgers threw 9 balls to Randall Cobb 9 times, and he caught 2 of them because they are playing football in parallel universes. He's in this world, Aaron Rodgers, and he's in this other world over here, and the twain will not meet.
That's fair.
And sometimes he hits him in the hands and he drops it, and sometimes he just flat out misses it.
But see, to me, when I see Aaron Rodgers, it's rare that I see him missing. That's why I got
I thought he missed way more than he usually misses yesterday.
I'm saying to you that I think that it's a product of those receivers running wrong routes, miscommunicating, dropping passes, etc. That will cause you to flinch. I don't think it's the pressure. Them applying pressure, him fearful of being sacked. I think it's guys not getting open. That's what I mean when I say you're not being completely honest, because you know well enough to know the difference. You know that Aaron Rodgers, if you're a quarterback and you back there and guys can't get open, you know what? What do you say? Eat it, as opposed to turning the ball over. And that's what you got to avoid.
So you're telling me that he is scrambling his receivers open on broken routes? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you not see that? I saw that at least 2 occasions yesterday.
Well, it seems like that's all they got now. So my point is, for Minnesota's sake, you cannot let him loose. If you let him loose, he's going to hurt you. Because James Jones, I got to say, I know he's bounced around this league. He is as good a clutch, key catch receiver as there is in football right now. Right now, every time I look up, he's making a big catch. A hard catch, a tiptoe catch, a straight over the shoulder. He almost fumbled the ball before he went to the ground, but he caught it catch. Well, that's saving this team. He saved this team yesterday. Listen, I'm going to bring this up because you used to ridicule me Monday after Monday after Monday. Tim Tebow can't even complete 50% of his passes. Well, neither can Aaron Rodgers. He was below 50 again yesterday. That's terrible. That's not Aaron Rodgers.
Wait a minute. Again,
that's 16 to 34.
Yeah, but on the season he's completing just 61% of his passes. Tim Tebow can't even get in that vicinity. Stop it. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, Skip Bayless, Aaron Rodgers has 3 interceptions on the season. He's thrown 1 interception in the last 5 games. Number 3, since 2011, when he threw 6 interceptions, that would make 5 seasons. Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown double digits in interceptions. I'm telling you right now, he's one of those guys, he's not turning the ball over. So he's going to throw it away, he's going to try to zip it in there, or he's going to take the sack. Usually when you have a quarterback this elite, putting up the numbers that he has put up throughout the years. He is standing here right now as the reigning league MVP, by the way.
I have no idea how, but that's another
Let's make
discussion.
sure. Well,
Tony Romo should have run away with that.
I would say to you 38 touchdowns and 5 interceptions sounds about right to me. But my point to you is Aaron Rodgers, these guys ain't getting open. It's not panicking in the pocket. It's recognizing that guys ain't open.
Yeah, and what happened on the last throw at Carolina when Randall Cobb came wide open and Aaron Rodgers said, I got scared. I saw something and I got scared. That's what he said. I didn't make that word up.
That's right.
I got scared.
Right.
He missed a lot. It was
You're
teaching
never going to let him live that one down for saying it. Never should have said it.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
The only interception he's thrown in 2 months. And that's Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless.
I see tap dancing better than the late, great Gregory Hines from Aaron Rodgers.
In that regard, go ahead and use it against him.
Yeah.
I'll let you
47% of his passes. 47%. Am I getting this wrong? 47% he completed the Vikings?
You're accurate.
Yeah, but you did mention Tim Tebow in the same breath as him.
Well,
you know, so, I mean, the guy that you love so much ain't even in the league. This guy's a reigning league MVP.
Tribute to Mike McCarthy because he finally got serious and said, Aaron, we cannot throw a franchise high tying 61 passes. Remember against Detroit, they lost to the Detroit Lions at Lambeau Field last week, and Aaron Rodgers threw it 61 times. So he said, we're going to take the game out of your hands somewhat, and we're going to put it in the hands of Eddie Lacy, whoever gets hot at running back, okay? So they had 34 passes and 34 rushes. That'll work.
Meanwhile, Tony Romo returned and Dallas is back to their winning ways, but the Cowboys have a very tough test on Thanksgiving when the undefeated Panthers come to town. Cam torched Washington Sunday, 5 TD passes, each to different receivers. And the Redskins ran for only 14 yards against Carolina's tough defense. Eric Allen's in the house. You know a thing or two about those Cowboys in the NFC East. Played them quite a few times. Now, according to Westgate Sportsbook, Dallas is favored by 1.5. Eric?
You're laughing out loud at that?
Eric?
You're laughing out loud at
that?
We had to search deep for that, right? I mean, out of everything, we had to search deep.
Well, everybody knows
I always look at the line.
Out there, man.
Oh, my God. And I know people are on the bandwagon now. Tony Romo's back. I mean, Dez is happening. Dallas Cowboys are doing their thing.
Oh, not this guy.
They are facing one of the toughest teams in the National Football League this year. Josh Norman. I mean, just to shut down, lock down Josh Norman.
He's the best.
He is. One of the best receivers. He will shut down Dez. Dez is not playing 100%. And then you have that outstanding linebacker core. You got Kuechly, you got Thomas Davis, you got Tillman back there helping out. You got Harper making runs, and Sackman, Kawan Short. There's no way the Dallas Cowboys should be favored against the mighty Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers.
What do you think about 38-7 Carolina?
Well, they'll get like 10. I think Cowboys will get 10. But right now, we're talking MVP candidate in Cam Newton, making it happen, running all over the place.
Is he the MVP, though?
No, Brady's the MVP. He's
want to make sure you're getting
like
carried away.
Second.
Close second.
You know, throwing for 4 or 5 touchdowns, running back
against those Redskins. He did.
It doesn't matter.
I give it to him.
The Carolina Panthers should be favored by a large margin.
By a large margin?
EA's book.
Should they be favored by, say, 10 then, or 12?
I would say, let's go 11.5.
11.5
says
EA.
My shoe size.
What says Stephen A. Smith?
I will tell you this. I think that if Carolina is going to lose a game this season, or 2, it's going to be over the next 2 games. They got a road game against Dallas. They got a road game against New Orleans. Do I think the Dallas Cowboys should be favored? Utterly ridiculous. Of course they shouldn't be. But I will say this. I do think that the game itself is going to be very interesting. Thanksgiving, short week, holiday. Likelihood is guys don't really want to play on that day, for Carolina.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, you're just playing on a Sunday, and then after that you got Thursday. You can be chilling at home with family and friends instead.
Yeah,
you got to
work. You get to
work.
chill for 10 days, right?
I agree with that. I'm just talking about Thanksgiving, not a Thursday game.
I think Cam want to do his thing on
Thanksgiving. But since he's going to be there, I think he's going to do his thing. I just think it's one of those situations, however. I think the Dallas Cowboys can make it very, very interesting because Carolina comes in there with the perfect record. And so the hype is surrounding that franchise as opposed to the Dallas Cowboys. And we all know they're always starving for publicity. They're not happy unless you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. They don't even care if you're talking about them negatively. Just have us in the press so you can remind the world that we're relevant. And that's really what they want. So I think this is one of those situations. I think they will show up. I think the Dallas Cowboys will play a highly competitive game. I think this will be a nail-biter, but I'm still going to roll with Carolina to handle their business in this contest.
But you think it's laughable that Dallas is favored?
I don't think they should be favored. I don't think because there's nothing to justify the Dallas Cowboys being the favorite in this game. Absolutely nothing to justify it.
Okay. Back to my friend Eric Allen, who mentioned that the spread should be 11.5, which is his shoe size, 11.5. And I think he just put a size 11.5 right in his mouth. I think you just put your foot right in your mouth. Because, call me crazy, but I think my Cowboys are back. I think you will see on Thursday the team that you saw in games 1 and 2, especially the team that won handily at Philadelphia in game 2. Remember that game? Should have been 20-3. They got a late touchdown, 20-10. This team is back. This team will beat Carolina on Thursday. I know we should save I don't want to save my predictions because I see this one coming. And here's the point. There is no way Carolina is a 10-0 type of team. They are much overrated as a 10-0 team. And I think we would all agree that Dallas is extremely underrated as a 3-7 team with its quarterback back and even 75% of Des Bryant back. I give you, he's still a little iffy on his right foot, just a little bit. But he got open a couple times yesterday. He caught a 16-yard touchdown beat double coverage into the end zone. And it looked like the good old days. And that team on that touchdown pass that made it 21-14 after Miami had tied it, bounced back to life. Like, our guys back, we're back, our defense is back. It's the best defense in the division. It's the best offensive line in the division. I think it's the best skill talent in total in the division, including the quarterback, the receivers, and the running back. And I think that Cam will come in there flying high. He's having fun. We all love what he's doing. But I'm going to remind you about Cam Newton's team. They won at Seattle on a late throw in which the Legion of Boom or Doomed at that point did not even cover Greg Olsen. Remember that throw? That won the game for Cam Newton. And then Aaron Rodgers got scared, I'm going to say it one more time, in the pocket on the crucial late play at Carolina when it looked like they were back in the game and failed to see a wide open Randall Cobb in the end zone, a little pitch and catch that would have sent it to overtime. And that's what it took for Carolina to remain unbeaten, because you can't show me another game on their schedule where you say, wow, that was impressive. I give you Seattle, and I give you struggling Green Bay at Carolina. I give you those. But I'm not going to give you this one because I think they're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time against a Dallas team that almost won 6 of those 7 games that they lost. They were right there at the buzzer, man. They were right there. Yeah. Every game I can show you, they're right there. They're right there. They needed a quarterback to make just one more play. Yeah, you had missed the fourth quarter this week. Just one play. And Tony Romo's going to make that play. I agree it's going to be close. I will give you this. Remember, most of the time, the odds makers give 3 points to the home team. So to say that Dallas is favored by 1.5, you could also make the case that they're not favored by 1.5, right? Yeah. And remember this, because Dallas is America's team, and they are so public in the betting public, people will leap on the bandwagon with both fists betting this week. So clearly, the odds makers want to set the line to encourage a few people to bet on Cam. Just a few people. So they will favor Dallas to say, wait a second. Really? Okay, so Cam's getting points at Dallas. So they're begging people, they're encouraging, they're pushing people to bet on Cam Newton here. So that's the odds makers' psyche. So I get that. I'm not saying that 1.5 is the correct line. I'm just saying that Dallas will win a close game. That's all I'm saying. So I don't care what the line is. You can laugh at it all you want.
So you're saying that Vegas concerns about pumping up
They always
Cam Newton.
Listen, Dallas is the most bet upon team in pro football. People go crazy betting on, and they do get carried away. The bandwagon will roll this week.
They're back in the division. I understand that they're back in the division, but we're talking about level of competition. I mean, it is not even close. Just like the NFC East is maybe the worst division in football.
So you think you think the Carolina Panthers are significantly better than the Dallas Cowboys?
Yes, I do
not.
Yes, I do. Yes,
I don't.
They're plus 13, which is the most important probably numbers we need to talk about. They're plus 13. Okay, they're picking the balls off. They have over 30 sacks. They have an outstanding back end, which is going to really negate what Tony Romo needs to do to make those plays. There's not going to be any double teams on Dez. There's going to be single team on Dez, and he's basically going to be taken out of the game. So now you have to really focus on the running game for the Dallas Cowboys. And although, they had a pretty good dose of the running game, this week it's not going to be like that. Got the two best middle linebackers in all of football. So the running game is going to be shut down. So Tony Romo,
it sounds like Dallas shouldn't even show up for this game.
They should show up because they want to be talked about the beatdown that's going to happen with the Carolina Panthers.
10
and
points.
then Cam Newton just dancing on them. Just dancing on Thanksgiving.
Dancing on them.
Big old turkey leg at the end of the game.
See, the thing about it is that I think that Dallas's defense is capable of neutralizing Carolina's offense to some degree. I think what Cam Newton has done has been absolutely sensational. But if there's a defense that can get up in him, sort of plug those holes, keep him contained to some degree, and keep the score close, I think Dallas defense is capable of doing that. Where I lose faith in the Dallas Cowboys is because I'm wondering what is that offense going to do against Carolina's defense. That's my question mark. But also keep in mind, Carolina's special teams are suspect, as the Redskins showed again yesterday. So let's just keep that in mind as well, because you can score points in a variety of ways. Your defense might shut Dallas's offense down, but you might give up some points special teams wise. And so I got to be mindful of all of that to say that there's a reason this game, in my estimation, will be close. But to me, the challenge is Tony Romo back, working off the rust after one game.
In a short week.
In a short week. Des Bryant's not 100% yet. The Carolina defense should have a field day with Dallas.
That short week is really going to hurt guys who are not completely healthy. Tony Romo coming off an injury in a short week. An older football team, it usually hurts. So again, that's what you need to be looking at as far as a short week is concerned. Not a healthy young football player opposed to a banged up older football player. I'm telling you, I've been in a situation where I played on Sunday, had to come back on Thursday. For a guy, you're in your 10th or 11th year.
My Cowboys have lived in that situation their whole lives from the start because they do this every year. They get ready for Thursday. They go Sunday, Thursday, every year of their existence. They all know how to do this.
I remember that. I remember that Sunday, Thursday in '90. When we went down there, the Eagles went down there.
What happened last year?
I don't think they scored.
That was the expansion Cowboys.
On Thanksgiving Day, what happened last year?
33-20 happened. Yeah, I know. I'm glad you reminded.
I'm just saying, you said they always prepare for this.
No, I said they know how to prepare.
They know how to prepare. They're always ready for this from Sunday to Thursday, Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, and I'm like this. Hey, what?
Yeah.
I know what they did after, but what
on the day after Turkey Day, you showed up saying, that's it, you guys are done. Yeah, but I said, no, we're not done.
But I didn't just bring up the point about how they show up ready on Turkey Day. You did.
No.
See, that's a different subject.
No, but
I'm addressing what you said about Turkey Day.
That maybe Dallas doesn't know how. No, they do this every year. They're okay.
The Bills are in Foxborough tonight to face New England. Now, when the Patriots and Bills met in Week 2, Tom Brady had a season-high 466 passing yards and 3 TDs, and the Pats held off a late charge by Rex's crew. So, Skip, what chance do you give the Bills to upset the Patriots tonight at home?
Huge chance. I got to tell you.
Really?
If I weren't such a big Tom Brady fan, if I haven't made a case that these Patriots can go 16-0, I would pick Buffalo to win this game tonight. If I were totally objective, my gut tells me Buffalo will upset New England tonight. But I do love me some Tom Brady, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go high scoring, close, somewhat like the game that we saw at Buffalo in Week 2, which wound up 40-32 New England. I'm going to do another 1-point game like I did against your Eli and your Giants. I'll go 31-30 home team, barely. And harking back to week 2, Tom Brady went in there on a mission to deflate the Buffalo Bills, and he did. His defense, not so much. And you've pointed out to me, well, it was 37-13. Well, it got all the way to 37-32 thanks to Tyrod Taylor. I got to tell you, he has become as dynamic a playmaker at quarterback as there is in this league. Cam, throw him in. I'm talking about arms and legs. Arm and legs, I should say. But in this case, Tyrod Taylor took this game over in the fourth quarter. Do you remember? It came down to Tom Brady throwing to Danny Amendola for 29 yards. And could we see that play, please? This was one of the great catches of the year, and it saved the Patriots bacon at Buffalo. Do you remember this one? 29 yards, 3 minutes and 18 seconds left, and Amendola goes up, straight up over his head. I don't know how he caught it, but he saved the day, saved Brady, saved the defense, because that set up the 40-32 field goal. That gave him the 8-point edge, and then Tyrod got the ball back one more time, desperate, and threw an interception. But he had done a lot of damage to that point, 40-32. And I believe that Rex's team is spoiling to get even, to at least take its pound of flesh. It'll be physical. It'll be fairly high scoring. Remember, LaShawn and Sammy Watkins, as we talked about in the Philly topic, LaShawn's no joke. He's back he's in gear now. Sammy Watkins is emerging as one of the top forces at receiver in this game, and I think you'll see more of the above tonight. And I got to tell you, when you take away Julian Edelman and Deion Lewis, who did not, they played, and they played very well at Buffalo. It's just huge losses for an offense that's going to have a hard time against Rex's defense. It'll take every bit of Tom Brady's greatness to get to 31. I mean, most people would say, well, you can get to 4. Nope, I'll give him 31, and I'm paying tribute to Tom Brady to get to 31. But I think their defense is going to struggle to stop Tyrod, LaShawn, and Sammy Watkins.
Skip Bayless, I'm going to go with the Patriots winning this game 34-22.
Okay.
I think it'll be tight, and they'll pull away. I think there's a couple of things that you need to take into consideration here. Weather conditions is going to be under 40. Usually in those weather conditions, Tom Brady's like 34-5. I remember Shady McCoy, my man. I've known him for years. Obviously, he's an elite running back as far as I'm concerned in cold weather conditions. I'm not sure, not so much. Didn't look up that stat, but in cold weather conditions, he just seems somebody that really, really excels in more decent weather as opposed to inclement weather. I think that could be a factor. I think you have to take into consideration the fact that he's run for exactly 112 yards over the last 2 games. He's never had 3 consecutive 100-yard games in his career. I got to look at that. I also have to look at it from this perspective, Skip. Losing Julian Edelman, that's a tough loss, but nobody's getting rid of the football quicker than Tom Brady. The Bills have like 14 sacks. They ranked 29th in the NFL in sacks. Last year, they had 54. The year before, they had 57. They only have 14 sacks on the season. Rex Ryan talked about Kyle Williams probably going to be out for the year. You combine all of that. Are you going to get to the quarterback? Are you going to be able to rattle Tom Brady in Foxborough? I don't think you're going to do that. I think you'll come out ready to fight. I think you'll move the football. I love what I'm seeing from Tyrod Taylor. He's completed over 70% of his passes. He's thrown 11 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions on the year. He's a game changer as far as I'm concerned. I think him with Shady McCoy, with a guy like Sammy Watkins, with Charles Clay, who's their leading receiver thus far this year. I definitely think that the Bills are in a position where, you were right in terms of looking at them as your wild card because they're clearly more formidable. I still haven't given up on the Jets, but I think the Bills are definitely going to be in the mix because I think they've got talent at a multitude of positions. And I think this is the most complete team that Rex Ryan has ever had. But I think when your style of play, what you're not doing well this year is going to play right into Brady and the New England Patriots' hands. You're not getting sacks. Tom Brady gets rid of the football very, very quickly. No, you don't have Deion Lewis, but LeGarrette Blount can play. No, you don't have Julian Edelman, but Danny Amendola can play. There's still LaFell. There's still Gronkowski and these boys. And I just think that they can do some things for you in Foxborough, knowing Rex Ryan is coming. I think they'll be ready. I think it'll be tight, but I think ultimately they'll get the Bills figured out. and they will pull away late. It'll be a tight game. They may even have a lead, and then New England is going to pull away, after the 8-minute mark in the fourth quarter, and I think they're going to win this by about 34-22.
I sure hope you are right about this, but I remind you, which coach has tormented Tom Brady the most?
Yeah.
Even in Foxborough,
Yeah.
Rex has.
Yep.
I thought he would torment him at Buffalo and Orchard
Week
Park.
2, yeah.
Yeah, I really did, although I picked, obviously, New England to win the game, but I thought that would be close. And it got close. It got scary close at the end because Rex is right about one thing about his team. It does not give up. The quarterback, when he's been healthy, has been really good, and they've been really good. So I think it'll go to the wire, but I hope you're right about that. I would love to see New England pull away.
Yep.
So you're both expecting a close one, but a 1-point game. That surprises me, Skip. We shall see.
Well,
They're going to be that close to me.
it was 1 point at the Giants, right?
Yep.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt, frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the play calling. I'm disappointed in the situations we were put in. And I wish it all played out differently. How we lost, I feel like we just weren't putting the right opportunity to win this game. We weren't put in the right situations to win this game. And like, I don't think Michigan State was better than us. They weren't. But we didn't execute. I mean, honestly, I can't speak for the play calling. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what they were seeing.
Clearly, an emotional loss to Michigan State was Ohio State's first loss in 24 games, and apparently running back Ezekiel Elliott, as we just heard, that was also supposedly his final home game. Elliott calling out the coaches. Skip, what should Urban Meyer do now?
Before I answer that, Molly, Stephen A., I have a whole lot of sympathy for Ezekiel Elliott and what happened to him on Saturday. He was crushed, emotionally devastated, because I thought this was potentially his Heisman moment, his Heisman opportunity on a pretty national stage to throw up a big number, maybe go for 150, 200 yards rushing and say, I'm right there with Derrick Henry. I'm right in the race to the wire. Averaged 142 yards rushing coming into that game.
Yep.
And as you know, after that opening touchdown drive, it wasn't opening the game, but early in the second quarter, 7-0 touchdown drive, Ezekiel Elliott carried the ball 4 times for 6 more yards. And he wound up with 12 carries for 33 yards.
33.
And they wound up with 132 yards of total offense and 5 first downs at home against a rival, if not the arch rival. Mm-hmm. So you're devastated. You don't think, you blurt. And yet what he blurted, the reason I have so much sympathy was everything he said I agreed with. I do pin this on Urban Meyer. I thought he was awful calling plays. He's got co-coordinators. I don't know how much their input they have. Remember, Tom Herman left from last year when he was on fire at the end of the year, went to Houston, and congratulations, because your UConn Huskies upset Houston over the weekend.
That was going to be the A block, but
there you go.
those
I know.
Cowboys,
I was thinking about that.
I'm so touched. It means so much.
It does mean so much. That was a big win, actually. It was.
A huge win. We're bowl eligible.
Yeah. Okay, so now back to Zeke. So the point is, they're a mess on offense thanks to the head coach, and they're a bigger mess in the bigger picture because you don't play the musical quarterback game. I'm sorry, I said during the offseason, it's Cardale Jones. Go with him and stick with him. He had a rocky start to the year. He threw some picks. We know about all that. He would have won this game, I believe. Cardale wins this game when JT couldn't win the game because they couldn't run a lick after a while on that Michigan State front that was just fierce and rock solid. And after a while, you just got to loosen it up. I know it was windy, I know it was rainy, but you got to fling the football the way Cardale was flinging it at the end of the year last year. So that's all on Urban Meyer's doorstep. Now, conclusion, answer to question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. If you're Urban Meyer, you have to defend your authority here. You got to sit Zeke down. You can't play him against Michigan. I'm sorry, you can't have that kind of insubordination. You can't allow one of your stars to attack you, to shred your credibility to the media in ways that we don't see often anywhere in college football, especially in Urban Meyer's program. So this is just me. If I'm Urban Meyer, I have to take a stand here. I have to pull this young man aside. He's already effectively quit anyway, and say, I just can't play you against Michigan because I have to show I'm still in charge here. Understand what you said, even though I think the public at large, Buckeye Nation at large, would agree mostly with the sentiments that he expressed. I still think Urban has to take a stand, and I guess he's going to speak here in just a few minutes, so we'll see how he responds.
Just want to make sure I'm clear on your position. You're saying bench him for one game.
Yep, for Michigan.
Not bench him for the Big Ten championship game
if it gets
or
there.
bowl game. If it gets there, or bowl game. You're not saying that, are you?
I'm not sure it's going to get there, but go ahead.
Right, I'm saying they're going to make a bowl. They'll make a bowl
not
game.
for the bowl game.
Right,
if he wants to play, that would be his last game at Ohio State, according to him.
Right. If you're just talking one game, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
I have no problem with it. I think that he deserves to be benched for one game. I feel bad from this perspective. Every word he said was absolutely right.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott was absolutely right. Urban Meyer even admitted, not that he was right because he didn't know what Ezekiel Elliott said at the time, but he said that he was entirely too conservative. He did a horrendous job of play calling. When you consider the 132 total yards, it was the worst in Urban Meyer's professional career. It was his worst performance, calling plays. Okay, we get that. If you're Ezekiel Elliott, here's where the problem really, really lies. And it's a lot of folks out there that need to hear this. Turn that video off, please. Here's the deal, okay? This is what needs to be said.
Yep.
Ezekiel Elliott, let's reiterate, was absolutely right. Urban Meyer, this was his first loss in the Big Ten in years, okay? The man has been pretty close to flawless. He's won multiple national titles, okay? He has the cachet. There are moments in Ezekiel Elliott's career, although he's been relatively stellar, has never averaged less than 6 yards a carry. He's got 1,400 yards, but he does have 40 less carries this year. He does have almost 400 less yards this year rushing than he did last year. So you have to take into account the fact that all of those things probably are affecting him, particularly when a national championship is on the line and you think you may have just blown it, but you don't throw your coach under the bus. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't get away with it. The reason why I say to you, I want it to be just a game, but I don't think it should be more than that. Because let's understand something. It's perfectly within Urban Meyer's right to sit there and say, since you said you're leaving and you've already just quit on me, bye. I mean, Urban Meyer could actually do that and get away with it. But I don't want him to do that because this kid has been too good for this program. Too good of an athlete, too good of a person to just throw his future away because he got emotional after a devastating loss. He doesn't deserve that, okay? But at the same time, you can't have a kid going out there and being insubordinate against your coach, a.k.a. boss, all right, and operate with impunity. There's no kind of punishment whatsoever. You can't let that slide because that's going to open the floodgates for others to think that they can get away with it too. And that's not the real world. In the real world, if you call out your boss publicly, there's usually a price that you pay. It is not something. It is not something that you do. It is ramifications. And Ezekiel Elliott cannot be immune from all of that.
I must say,
that can't happen.
We just showed his tweet of, was it last night, I guess?
Right.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure when he tweeted.
Last night. I got to tell you, I didn't love the tweet. And if I'm Urban Meyer, I don't love it either because it's not a laughing matter what he did.
But I don't think it was laughing. I think that what I think it's actually a little worse than that. He wasn't laughing it off. He's sitting there like, I guess I'm the bad guy. In other words, y'all got it wrong. I don't. He's not.
You could say that.
He's looking at the veracity of his statement as opposed to how inappropriate it is to call out your boss, who is one of the most respected bosses in all of college football. You can't get away with doing that. What I would say about Urban Meyer.
His ear on that one. Don't get sad. You're not helping yourself,
But the other part is that you look at him and you look at Cardale Jones. And Urban Meyer has to be careful because it gives the impression that there's more than one person, more than Ezekiel Elliott, that's not happy with the program, as opposed to guys that say, all right, I'm a stud, I'm going to go to the NFL and make money. They seem to be giving the impression, just get me the hell out of here. And so you don't want that as a coach if you're Urban Meyer, and that's something that somebody needs to ask him to address with his press conference
I would have
today.
advised the young man to stay off Twitter, but I suppose if he felt strongly enough, if he had tweeted, I stand behind what I said in the locker room, but I regret saying it, that might suffice. That might be enough to placate his boss.
All he could have said was, boss or no boss, I respect Coach Urban Meyer. He said, but damn, look at what I've done. How could you give me 12 carries? Like, even though that might have been bad, you can understand it. He just went a little bit further in terms of the play calling. And what Ezekiel Elliott has to pay attention to, which is the point I really wanted to make, is that you know this better than me. This is the kind of stuff that'll hurt you come NFL draft time.
It can.
With his ability, they'll still look at him and say, oh, you going to throw us under the bus too if you come here? You got coaches. You think about the NFL scouting combine and what they put these guys through with the questions that they ask them. I hope it doesn't hurt this kid. He's a good kid. He's been performing.
By the way,
elite guy. He can really play.
I would want him on my NFL team.
So would I.
The Texans have won 3 games in a row for the first time since 2012. And on top of that, they pulled it off last night against the Jets with TJ Yates, who threw for 229 yards in his first start since January of 2012. The Jets have quickly moved outside of the playoff picture, losing 4 of their last 5 games and dropping to 3rd place in the AFC East at 5-5. Stephen A., are they done?
I would say they're done, but they're in trouble. I mean, they've got Miami, the Giants, Dallas, New England, and Buffalo coming up in 5 of their next 6 games, with Tennessee sandwiched in between the Giants and the Cowboys with that home game at MetLife Stadium. They're in a world of trouble. There's no question about it, because they have a one-dimensional offense. They can't do but so much. There's no reason for a quarterback change, because what you're going to change from bad to worse. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't been bad, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't knock your socks off. We all know that. Threw 2 interceptions yesterday. Obviously, 2 ill-advised ones weren't great throws. We understand, even though he showed a lot of guts and running the football, and particularly on 1 touchdown. I look at them right now. Chris Ivory, lack of production, only 8 carries, 36 yards rushing. That's a problem. They seemed mentally and physically unfocused, not ready. Against the Texans, you would have thought that they were the ones that had, the rest instead of Jets. You just expected more. Darrelle Revis got ate up by DeAndre Hopkins, including that 61-yard touchdown catch. The aura of invincibility has dissipated dramatically with him. Antonio Cromartie got beat on the 35-yard pass. Demario Davis let the running back get behind him and score a touchdown. I think it was Cecil Shorts, if I remember correctly. You just look at these guys right now and you say, what the hell is going on? This is not the team that I expected to see. This is an average football team, to say the least. You expected the offense to be average. You expected the defense to be elite. And as a result, for that to propel them, keep in mind that Darrelle Revis just signed a 5-year, $70 million deal with about $40 million in guaranteed dollars. Well, they're not expecting this. Right now, you're seeing folks that once upon a time, they wouldn't even throw in Darrelle Revis' direction. Now you're seeing people attacking him more and more. Antonio Cromartie, you're seeing people attacking him a little bit more. Again, it's just one play here or there, but 61-yard touchdown catch is a big deal. A 35-yard pass is a big deal. If you're Todd Bowles, you're electing to go for it on a 4th and 5 instead of punting the football when you've got 2 timeouts remaining and a 2-minute warning at your disposal, and you still go for it on a 4th and 5 in your own territory, makes no sense. So right now, it's hard to recognize these New York Jets. They don't seem to be nearly as formidable as I thought they would be. They seem to be regressing as opposed to progressing. And that obviously spells bad for you, because Buffalo looks to be on the come up. And obviously the Steelers, even without Big Ben Roethlisberger, managed to win 2 games when he was on the sidelines. It's not looking good for the Jets right now.
I'm afraid they're done. I do like a lot of the players on this team. I just don't love this team. I especially don't love its quarterback. And I just went through hell with my Dallas Cowboys with 2 backup quarterbacks who just couldn't get it done. As much as I love the rest of the team, just stay off the weed and outhouse to castle back to outhouse. They're just not good enough.
Right.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick is just not good enough. again, sub 50% passing yesterday for 216 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and he got outplayed by T.J. Yates. I had this game on during the Cowboy game, and I kept glancing at it, and every time I glanced, T.J. Yates made a big-time throw. Seriously, I'd say, who is the quarterback? That's T.J. Yates.
Still a third stringer.
I get it, but listen, DeAndre Hopkins is the stud. He's a stud that nobody talks about. He just plays down there in Houston in the shadows, right? And I just checked.
TDs this season.
Yeah, so he's 3rd in overall yards, 3rd in overall receptions, and 2nd in touchdowns. That's pretty great. And yeah, Revis was having a long day, and then he got banged in the head. I don't know if his feelings were hurt, but he was hurt finally in the end. And T.J. Yates made a beautiful throw on the 61-yarder that sort of broke the game open at that point. And now I'm back to I'm going to use a quick baseball line from the great Branch Rickey. You remember Branch Rickey going way back? One of the great GMs in the history of the game always said, it's not whom you play, but when you play them. Well, the Jets happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time because the Texans have suddenly figured it out with T.J. Yates because they're way better than they have played, and they finally went to Cincinnati and actually won a game they shouldn't have won, and they said, wait a second, we can do this. And wrong place, wrong time, sorry about that, Jets. And I don't think, given the schedule you just read, I don't think they can recover from this with Ryan Fitzpatrick as the quarterback.
It doesn't look that way. It doesn't look that way. We shall see. I'm not going to give up on them just yet, but they were on the respirator.
Yep.
They were on the respirator.
The rumors are already circling for new quarterbacks next year.
Well, of course, they shouldn't have been a rumor. They should have been looking for a new quarterback next year at the beginning of this season. We know Brian Fitzpatrick ain't the future.
Boxing over the weekend in Vegas, Canelo Alvarez defeated Miguel Cotto by unanimous decision. Stephen A., you picked Canelo to get the victory. What was your takeaway?
Well, the first thing I want to do is give respect to Cotto because he clearly was the smaller fighter. He was smaller, he was weaker. Canelo came in the ring bigger, stronger. The power punches were more conspicuous. There's no denying that. I just thought that Cotto did a masterful job of boxing and surviving because as the fight waned, you just saw the punches from Alvarez appearing to be more effective, although Cotto never appeared in trouble. In the end, what it came down to is that I think the better fighter won in this particular division. Canelo Alvarez is the real deal. I still believe he needs to stay away from Triple G, but that clearly appears to be the mega fight. I think that could be the mega fight.
He's plenty big enough to hang with.
Well, he's big enough now. He's big enough now. But I just believe that Triple G. I think Triple G would knock anybody out.
Do you?
His subway.
I think we'll see it in early May in Vegas, and maybe we'll be there. You never know.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I mean, I think that's the mega fight, and I think it's a worthy mega fight. I ain't trying to I thought that Triple G would destroy anybody. Canelo impresses me because he's got punching power. He can box. He's not just a good-looking guy or whatever. This brother's the real deal. I give a lot of respect to Cotto. He just needs to stay at that welterweight division. I think he was too small for him.
You were right about this. I was definitely wrong because I did not know that Canelo has grown up as a boxer the way he had against a real boxer in Cotto. We saw Floyd take Canelo to school 2 years ago. And boy, Saturday night, I was just mystified by how he could box. He outboxed Cotto. And he didn't do it with that big lethal right hand of his. He did it with his left, with hooks and jabs. He punished Cotto. I thought Cotto did not get enough respect from the judges for how he did hang in this fight.
Why?
Dan Rayfield made that point after the
I agree with that. I agree with Dan and you.
But you're right. He was just not quite big enough. And Canelo has grown up in spirit and in skill. And he just said, bring on Triple G. He said they're good friends. He wanted to box him on Saturday. Well, let's just do it right here. Let's just go ahead.
That would have been a mistake.
Well, it would have been interesting,
though.
But I like the spirit of it. He said, this is my time. My era has arrived. I love the kid. I thought it was like a work of art what he did to Cotto.
And what I love about the kid is that Triple G is at 160. So he would have to move down to 155 unless Canelo was willing to move up. Still in all, Canelo willing to take that fight.
I know, but by fight time, Canelo was weighing like 172. I don't think the size.
Triple G goes up too. But I'm just saying it matters that Canelo is willing to take on anybody. That's a big deal.
We have a boxer here tomorrow, /UFC fighter. Holly Holm will be here. Jada Kiss will talk to him about his new album. Do you guys know, confession, I had to buy the fight twice. I'm such an old lady. I can't stay awake. Tonight I will, though, because we got a good one. Monday Night Football. Go Pats. Bye. Appreciate you listening to us. Catch First Take weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern and catch the re-air, as always, at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2.